This all started in 2019 when CBC, which is the central bottling company, an Israeli firm, took over Clover through a consortium where it was the largest shareholder. This consortium is Milco, and I think the official subsidiary through which it functions in South Africa. So could you tell us a little bit about that takeover and how it happened?
Yes, I mean, that was obviously amongst one of the triggers, and I'll speak about that in a matter of a second. But the causes are much deeper than that. And I think the root cause of it is a deepening crisis of capitalism, the crisis in the economy, which you can say it goes more than a decade, with the Great Recession of 2008, 2009, but also a crisis of climate change, because this company was hit worst by the drought that engulfed a big part of the country for about 5 years until probably this year and last year, when we have seen a better rain and so on. Now, as you would know, one of the tendencies of capitalism is that in a period of crisis, there is consolidation of capital. And what we see is, of course, big companies taking over smaller companies. And what we are dealing with here is a multinational company, a central bottling company that is Israeli owned, creating a consortium, Milco, with the partners to raid, Clover. I think they paid 4-point-something billion in that transaction, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously that was linked with a promise of restructuring with a brutal consequences for workers, for their families, for communities, in order to secure a higher rate of profitability. Now, we were always aware that part of the negotiation for takeover was that brutal restructuring and austerity measures for the workers, which was a basis of objection, but also the fact that we are, as workers' movement, committed to the question of Palestine. The question of working class solidarity is not a sloganeering for us. It's a matter of absolute and vital principle and foundation of our movement. We cannot stand idle when the people of Palestine are being dispossessed of their land, are being displaced from their home, are subjected to a most brutal colonial military occupation over decades without an end. And therefore, we said this company, which is operating on occupied Palestinian territories, that is linked with far right-wing parties that are funding and organizing illegal Jewish settlements on Palestinian land, cannot be allowed to operate here with impunity. And that's the reason that we also objected to this takeover on the basis of working class solidarity and our commitment to international support towards the oppressed people of Palestine. Now, government supported the measure. They said this measure is part of the investment drive by the president. You know that he announced a target of about 1.4 trillion in investment that he targeted over a period of 5 years. But also they said this is going to create jobs. Now, we presented all evidence of that part of the negotiations for the takeover is this package of restructuring. Now, government is going to tell you, or Clover is going to tell you that they had what you call Project Sincero, which was a project of restructuring before the merger. But what they will not tell you is that the very reason that they embarked on that process of restructuring was to make Clover, profitable in a way that will attract this sort of investment. And therefore, restructuring, though it precedes the merger, it was very integral to the takeover itself. And that was the basis of objection. We said they're going to destroy jobs. We said they're going to lower conditions of our members. And the government said no such thing is going to happen. In fact, they promised to create about 500 jobs through what they call a Project Masakani. Now, 2 years, all of that, right? Less than 2 years, actually, because the takeover was in October 2019. By now, about over 1,000 jobs were lost. If it was not for the strike, we're looking at 2,000 job losses in this round of restructuring.